Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Michael or Kiratze Online. How are you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing well. I don't even know why I asked. I can't hear you guys, but hopefully it's good regardless. I am back with some more Shadow Nova goodness, and I've been really loving Shadow Nova lately. I finally made a full control Abyssian list that has Shadow Nova in it that I'm happy with. And it's quite a bit different than what my other Shadow Nova list was. My other Shadow Nova list was sort of a burn mixed with... it was like a Shadow Nova list with a burn as a plan B. This one's like a full-on control, extend to the late game so you can just draw into Shadow Nova and start placing Shadow Novas down. This is sort of a quality over quantity type deck where I don't really... the games are going to go on fairly long. But I would rather have higher win rate than just being able to play a bunch of games and lose a fair amount of them. So this, because I don't have a lot of time to play this month, a lot less time than I thought I did, and so I wanted to make a deck where I could just capitalize on wins and still get to S rank at a reasonable pace. I'm at rank 6 right now, so I'm still got a ways to go, but I'm getting there. And I want to make a list where I can just... I wanted to make a list to help counter Third Wish decks. And this list I'm about to show you doesn't really counter them, but I've got to say it feels really good in the Third Wish matchup, which I will show you guys a replay with the deck, of course, because I know you guys love gameplay as well with the deck techs that I do. So, yeah, let's get to the list, and I'll talk a little bit about it, because there's some interesting choices going around here, as you can probably see. So this is Hard Nova, and Hard Nova is all about hard removal. Goes with the name. And this was sort of a test, because I just sort of realized, I was looking through Abyssian cards, and I was looking, okay, well, how can I build a control list? And I was like, okay, I have to have hard removal. You're not going to have a control list without hard removal. But our only options are Ritual Banishing and Dark Transformation. And my mind always went back to those, just what people echoed, and what sort of the collective, I guess, talked about when they talk about these cards and how shitty they are. Yes, they aren't as optimal as Lionar's Martyrdom. They aren't as optimal as Hailstone Prism, but they are playable. They're actually playable. And in a full-on control list where you're looking to just answer their big threats, card for card, or potentially more, and extend to that late game, they're actually not that bad. And when you have a lot of healing in a deck in a faction like Abyssian, you have Void Pulse and you have Spectral Blade in addition to Rejuvenators, Healing Mystics, and also potentially getting Void Pulses back, you can extend to the late game fairly easily. And playing against a lot of Third Wish decks, I realized the only reason I lose is because they get a Third Wish target and I can't reach it. That's the only way I lose a lot of the time. And I figure, okay, well, screw it. Let's just make a deck with a lot of hard removal. Screw it if it's low costed. Looking at sort of the numbers, Dark Transformation, sure, it's slower than playing turn 1, turn 2, Third Wish, but if you are answering a Third Wish target, you're always getting ahead on tempo, because, well, maybe not ahead on tempo, maybe I'm using that word wrong. You're getting ahead on value, I guess, because you're using one card on a 2-card combo, and the mana's always going to equal out or potentially be a better trade for you. And you're still getting a 1/1 Wraithling out of it. The meaning I mean by even mana trade is, at minimum they're gonna be playing Third Wish on a 2-drop. So Third Wish is 3 mana, the 2-drop's 2 mana, combined it's 5 mana. Math is hard, right? And so you're equaling out on that mana trade. But you're only using one card. You're taking out 2 of their cards, and you're still getting a 1/1 Wraithling out of that, which you can use with Ritual Banishing in the future or something like that. So it actually is a pretty good answer to Third Wish, and I figure with Spectral Blades, Grasp of Agonies, Lures, Knights or Assassins, you can deal with anything they play fairly easily, because really Third Wish decks aren't playing that great of minions. They're just playing some good stuff creatures like Dancing Blades and things like that. But also a lot of just ways to flood the board. That's really all they care about, is getting as many Third Wish targets out there as possible, more than you can deal with, and then just start drawing into Third Wish targets, recycling those Third Wishes, and just out-wishing you, I guess is the best way to put it. And so Dark Transformation just helps you slow down those games and helps you draw to the late game, which is where you can just play your big threats. So also it's good in the Lion matchup, which is not the best matchup for us, depending on the deck you're playing, but Easy Answer to Ironcliff just slows down the game. A lot of their play is generally going to be slow as well, so it's perfectly fine. That game, against Lionar, games are going to go fairly long regardless, especially when both of you guys have a ton of healing. So that's nice. Even in Vanar, it has some uses. Being able to deny Fenrir value is actually pretty good, which is nice. And Abyssinian, it can sort of suck, depending on what variant they're playing. You are going to have some dead draws, but you have just so much healing in the deck that even against Burn, you're in a pretty good position. And you still have quite a bit of damage as Abyssinian out of hand, so you can still have the potential to race if need be. So even though this is a full control deck, you still have to have those ways to damage your opponent and to help close out games. And it can be nice in the Magmar matchup. Dark Transformation denies, Rebirth minions, stuff like that. But yeah, Songhai is probably the worst matchup for this deck. But even still, it's not unwinnable, of course. So yeah, I'll go through all the list and talk about some of my card choices, and we'll definitely talk about stuff around here. 3 Abyssal Crawlers, I like the card because not only are you just building up creep value with Demonic Lure in the mid game, if you built up a couple of creep tiles, it's nice because it just helps you control the board a little better. It makes positioning sometimes awkward for your opponent, and it's I figure if we're playing a deck with a lot of hard removal, and we're obviously going to be including Ritual Banishing in that, it gives us a Ritual Banishing target that we can play much quicker than we can with like a 2-drop or something like that, and still get value out of it, because it still leaves the Shadow Creep behind. So it's nice, and it's only 1 mana, so it only takes 4 mana with the combo to remove a big threat. You are using 2 cards to do that, of course, but sometimes you just need an answer to something, and this low cost minion helps you with that in conjunction with Ritual Banishing. Because I knew I wasn't going to play Sarlacc. Sarlacc's just way too slow. With all the Vitruvians running around, they just dispel it, and it slows you down way too much. If they dispel Abyssal Crawler, not even that bad. It's only 1 mana, and it's an additional early drop for us. 2 Grasp of Agony, MVP in the Vanar matchup, helps punish poor positioning, and it just gives you some extra early game control. Goes really well with your late game too. Hitting targets that have been grasped with a Spectral Revenant or Shadow Nova, you can get a huge amount of AoE damage. More with Shadow Nova, but Spectral Revenant you can still potentially get 7 face damage in if they're standing beside the target you hit with Grasp of Agony, which is pretty sweet. 3 Void Pulses, healing, racing potential, artifact, chipper. It's one of Abyssinian's best cards. 2 Demonic Lure, very, very good card for a Shadow Nova deck. It's pseudo removal, helps buy you time to look for your actual hard removal if you need to, but also it can help bring threats towards you if they haven't played Third Wish right away and they want to protect something, you can deal with it. Helps position your things better for Grasp of Agony, and yeah, it's just pseudo removal. 3 Healing Mystic, healing, 2-drop, good 2-drop, not much to say there. 3 Jaxi, it's a little bit sticky, so you can work well with Ritual Banishing, but it's just one of the best 2-drops in the game, gives you extra board control in the early game, pretty good. 3 Spectral Blade, one of Abyssinian's best cards, one of the best artifacts in the game in my opinion. It's just, you can get a lot of value of it for 2 mana. For 2 mana, killing off like an Emerald Rejuvenator, getting 4 face damaging because I'll want to hit it with our face to knock off a charge most often than not, and then potentially being able to kill off something else is huge for 2 mana. 1 Crossbones, there are some mech decks running around still, and also it doesn't die just a general attack, so you can kill off like a Jaxi. It doesn't die to general attack, and you can kill off maybe a 2-drop or something, but also target with Ritual Banishing later on. Yeah, not much to say there. It's a flex spot though. You could swap it in for whatever. 3 Night Sir Assassin, damage at hand, way to close out game. It's removal. It's just really, really good card. 2 Ritual Banishing. I wasn't going to run 3 because we have the 3 Dark Transformation, but it's still nice to have a cheaper form of hard removal for when you play something in the early game and they get a Third Wish target right away that you just need to deal with. Ritual Banishing can help with that. The one thing I should say is if they are a variant that's playing Sand Howler, well, that's just tough luck. You better look for those Knights or Assassins, I guess, or just survive until you can draw into like double Knights or Assassin or get close for Spectral Blades, but sometimes happens. 3 Emerald Rejuvenator, healing, good 4-drop, not much to say there. Twilight Sorcerer, I originally was running Tracers. I'm experimenting with a slot still. I might even put in more late game, but I figure it's a way to get our hard removal back when the games go on long, but also getting any of our spells back is perfectly fine for us, especially in the very, very long games when you can get Shadow Novas back. It's also just a good body to trade with, and stays alive. 3 Dark Transformation. So this was the test, and I would say it passed. You could probably cut 1, but I don't know. I like the 3. It's nice to just ensure you have one when they are ready to hit something with Third Wish. And yeah, it just slows down the game. It's a slow card, but you're looking for that slow game anyways. Just focus on the board and deal with all the small threats. Cards like Spectral Blade and Knights or Assassin, Lures, and your early drops can deal with anything small in the early game. Dark Transformation helps with those big threats like Ironcliff that you don't want to use Lure on, or don't have Lure on hand. You just want as many removal options as possible in a control deck, so you ensure you have one on hand for the right times. And yeah, it's good. Even with Ritual Banishing, you can combo and in the late game kill off 2 things. Dark Transformation, a big threat. Use the 1/1 Wraithling with Ritual Banishing, kill off another threat for 8 mana. Pretty good. Secure the board that way. But yeah, it's playable. Dark Transformation, the more I've played with it, the less bad I feel about it. Sure, it still might be overcosted. I don't know. The more I played with it, the more I don't think it's really overly costed. I just think that other people's removal is just better. That's just how it is. But I don't know. It hasn't been as bad. But I think it's just the list I'm running it in. I still think like in a mid-range list, you're not going to be running this because your creatures are going to be better for removal. And also your 5 slots already taken up by cards like Keeper, Dancing Blades, things like that. So, but in a list like this, I think it actually works out quite well. So yeah. And Deathblighter. So this is the other interesting card. And I felt if I was going to play a full control list, I wanted a Deathblighter. I don't really know why. We have Grasp of Agony, but I felt, it's nice to not have Grasp of Agony. Like, Grasp of Agony is not an amazing card. It's great in the lower ranks because no one plays around it, but in the higher ranks, people play around it. It's a lot harder to get value out of it, but you still sometimes need it, especially in the Van Arm matchup. But Deathblighter isn't conditional. It doesn't attack the same way as Grasp of Agony does, so it's much easier to hit things, and unlike Frostbone Naga, it hits the magic number of 3, which is good enough to deal with like the early drops and stuff like that, and a lot of 3 health stuff. Unlike Frostbone Naga, not only does it only kill your minions and hurt yourself a lot of the time, the 2 damage just makes things awkward. So Deathblighter is nice, and I think 1-of is fine. I actually really like it as a 1-of, and it catches people off guard a lot. Especially combined with Grasp of Agony for a 7-turn play, potentially. You can clear off a lot of their board as a 6 damage AoE spell, potentially. Or 6 damage AoE combo, I guess I should say. So, it's actually not too bad. Of course, the bodies sucks, but you're really looking just to secure board. And it gives you a different way of removing minions, unlike your hard removal. So your hard removal is obviously for single target stuff, and it's for the stuff that you can't, like for the big threats, right? So the other cards in your deck, like Spectral Blade, Knights or Assassin, Deathblighter, they're cards that you can help deal with smaller threats, or like Zoo-style decks, and Grasp of Agony can help with that as well. So in a control deck, you want answers to both kinds of decks. Obviously, our deck's more concerned with big single target threats, but you still want answers to those Zoo decks, those Swarm decks, those minion-based aggro decks, and Deathblighter helps with that a lot. And I actually sort of like it. It's I wouldn't say it's underrated. I still think it's pretty bad, but it's just like Dark Transformation, where I think it fits in the game plan enough that the deck makes it much better. Because there's not really any other card that has the same effect other than Grasp of Agony, but you need an activator for that, and you can actually play around that much easier than you can Deathblader. So yeah, I think the 1-of is pretty nice actually, because you're really looking for the right time to play it anyways. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I like the 1-of. It's a flex spot though. I'm still testing with it, but you could probably swap it out for something else if you want to. 3 Shadow Nova because it's a Shadow Nova list. Pretty fun. And 2 Spectral Revenant because it's just another late game card, another good late game card, and gives you more burst potential, gives you an extra damage from your deck, since you still need to find some ways to close out games. So that's pretty much it. So that is Hard Nova. I know it's pretty weird seeing Dark Transformation, and it's pretty weird seeing Deathblader, but I don't know. I gotta say, it's pretty fun. I like using weird cards. I like using, quote-unquote shitty cards. But I think in the right list, they're at least playable. They're at least these cards are at least playable in a list like this, and it's a lot of fun. So, without further ado, oh man, this deck tech's already been gotten 16 minutes. I'm gonna actually record the replay in a separate video. So I will upload them at the same time though. So if you want to watch them in one go, feel free to just click the next video. If not, no worries. Hopefully you guys have a great day, night, morning, wherever you are. And I will talk to you guys soon. Make sure to check out the links I have in the description below. Feel free to add me in game. I'm always open to chat Abyssian and help people out if they have questions. I know I add stupid and bad cards like this in a lot of my lists, but I like to have fun. I like to be, I like to do things my own way, I guess. But I'm perfectly capable of making competitive lists if you need me to. So don't worry about that. But other than that, yeah, take care, you guys. I will talk to you guys soon.